Hey folks, my name is Ari, and I'm going to be demonstrating for you today the push press, the dumbbell push press more specifically. Now first let me apologize, I am in my son's room because A, it's one of the few quiet rooms in the house, and B, it's one of the only rooms that has the ceiling space to do a dumbbell push press. Now the dumbbell push press is actually one of my favorite lifts to do. The reason being is that there's like a lot of muscles involved in doing the dumbbell push press, and it's a type of exercise that you can use to help benefit other exercises that you may do, specifically Olympic lifting, anything overhead. The muscles used in this type of lift are the shoulders, obviously, because we're going overhead. So you're going to be using pretty much every head of the deltoid. The triceps for that locked out extension portion of the overhead position, you're going to have full squeeze on that tricep, so the triceps are going to be worked. The quadriceps, since there is a small dip and drive involved, it's not huge, but it is a part. It's not a full depth squat or anything like that, but it still does activate the glutes and the quads in a slight manner that actually drives the weights up overhead. On more of an accessory based level, the erector spinae is used especially for a stabilizer. Now typically the push press is done with a barbell, so we have the barbell here, but when dumbbells we have a different grip, and this can actually be used for people who may not have the wrist mobility, or specifically the wrist the wrist mobility to get their elbows high, because the elbows are needed to get high. Because when you do the dumbbell push press, you're actually going to have a neutral grip here, and your elbows can get a little bit higher, as opposed to rotating the hands into a pronated position and then mounting the barbell onto your clavicle, or what we call front rack position. You're going to have a little bit more ability to lift the weights. The only problem is it's going to take away the ability to connect everything through that barbell. So you're going to have like independent. So if you have muscular imbalances, you're going to see them in the dumbbell push press. If your left arm is stronger than the other, the compensation doesn't work as well as if with a barbell. The upper traps and the scapular stabilizers are another muscle that help with the push press. They're not super involved in it, but as you can see, if I'm squeezing up overhead, my traps are shortening or contracting and helping getting that weight into a stabilized overhead position. First, I'm going to demonstrate for you the push press with dumbbells, and then I'm going to go through some of the cues and some coaching tips that I use with my clients. And then I'm going to show you some regressions and progressions that you can use that are very easy and simple to incorporate into your practice. So I have here a set of 5 dumbbells. This is just for coaching purposes. I don't want to be using 60s or anything, because I don't want to have to do full max effort on this. I want to show you the actual way to do this. So I'm going to step back and I'm going to move my son's Hot Wheels track out of the way. Like I said, only quiet room in the house, and I can still hear my dog whining outside. Okay, so when I come to this position, all right, I have my elbows high because I'm trying to mimic that push press as if I had a barbell. Okay. However, I want my elbows high, and now I coach a lot of kids when I do this. So when I say that, I say laser elbows. I pretend like the elbows are lasers, and I want them to shoot their laser elbows at me. Now this cue also works well for adults, because everyone who's new to fitness may not know that, puff up the chest and bring the elbows up. They might not know how to do that, but I mean, everyone can say, I got lasers in my elbows and I can shoot you with them, okay? So it's just a really easy way. I found that if you look up tips for kids coaching, they work for adults as well, okay? Anywho, so we're back to this starting position. My chest is big, my elbows are laser elbows here. The head of the dumbbell is actually resting on my anterior deltoid, and that's for a reason, because I don't want to be here, because if I'm here, the amount of weight I'm limited to is what my arms can hold up, and my biceps fatigue and my anterior deltoid fatigue in this position if they're not touching. So I want that high so I can at least give myself a little bit of a respite from this front position here. I've seen a lot of studios do it like this. I prefer here so you can get a little bit of relief. Okay, then the cues are dip, drive. Okay, and I want to lock out at the top. and then back down to the starting position, all right? So that dip is referring to you pushing your knees slightly outward here, okay, and then driving straight up, keeping that big chest here, dip, drive, and back down. Dip, drive, and back down. Now, one of the advantages the push press has is it can increase your volume of lifting overhead. So, for example, the regression to this is a strict overhead press. I'll use, again, dumbbells here, and it's a core tight, lift straight up overhead, and right back down. Now, that's a great lift if you're focusing on your shoulders. However, you can fatigue in this lift fairly quickly. It is some of the weaker muscles to go strict overhead. Now, if you're trying to add volume or increase the hypertrophy in your deltoids, you can use actually heavier weights, and that's the point of the push press. It's not really a cheating move at all. It's a dip, drive up overhead because I'm trying to get that heavy weight that I have here overhead, even if my shoulders are fatigued. So one thing I like to show people is, or when I do with my clients, let's say we're doing, excuse me, a high volume set, like a set of 15, okay? And they're doing overhead presses, and after a while, they fatigue, and they start stalling out here, okay? What I have them do is, I keep the same weights, but I have them do the push press for the rest of the reps. That way they're lightening the load slightly on their shoulders, but they're not restricting themselves to what just the shoulders can do. They can add that little bit of volume in there with still having that fatigue in the shoulders. Now, the progression from a push press, and this is actually what we call a push series. It goes overhead press or strict press, okay, or military press sometimes it's called, to push press, which is the one I'm showing you, and then a push jerk, which is where we dip, drive, re-dip, and then stand up. And this is obviously an Olympic lift. It can be done with dumbbells. It's a little bit tougher because that re-dip can cause instability in the shoulder. So you have to be kind of more experienced of a lifter to be doing a push jerk. I'll demonstrate both of those, okay? So we'll do the whole push series together, okay? Get your dumbbells out. Here, press, okay? Push press, dip, drive, okay? It's a violent drive. It's a powerful, violent drive with my hips, okay? And then the push jerk, which is a dip, drive, re-dip, and stand. And this is for heavier weights that you may not be able to get overhead, even with that push press. So here we go. I'll do it all the way through, and then I'll kind of walk you through it. Back down. So you saw dip, drive. Oh my God, it's too heavy. I stalled out. Re-dip, straighten the elbows, stand, back down. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into those because they are the progression and regression, and I did want to focus on the push press specifically. Let me look at the discussion board to make sure that I got everything here. So yeah, you got your cues. This is your free weight exercise. You have your regression. Now, one of the big benefits of this is it does increase athletic performance because you are doing that short anaerobic burst of energy. You're getting that ATP. Boom, up, straight overhead. Biceps are next to the shoulders. Elbows are locked out. And like I said, this can be advantageous over other exercises because it does allow you to increase the volume of work that you're doing with your shoulders. It may not be appropriate for everyone. I've met a few lifters that have like frozen shoulders, so their arms will literally only go up to here. And you do have to have pretty good, and mine's not great, but you have to have pretty decent shoulder mobility to be doing overhead presses. Now, my big issue is that I have terrible back problems with overhead pressing, so my push press should be a lot heavier than it is, but because I have it's a CrossFit injury, duh, because CrossFit's stupid, okay? When I'm going overhead, and let's say I'm trying to do an overhead squat, if I include that extra extension in my spine, it's pain and suffering for the next 2 days. So I can do the press, push jerk, but anytime we go into like something like maybe a thruster or something that requires me to overextend my spine, it's pretty much a no-go for me. So that can be a limitation if you have problems with overhead. Typically you can do some tests to see if people have like overhead issues, because ideally you want your arms to be next to your ears. Your biceps need to be next to your ears, and that's because we want that weight to be above our spine. That's all I got for this push press video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Please leave me some kind of critique or comment. I'm open to learning about everything. So thanks for watching. Look, Radiator Springs.